Good morning, everyone. From today onwards, we will discuss some important literary terms from the book A Glossary of Literary Terms by M.H. Abrams and Geoffrey Galt Harpham. Today's literary term will be absurd, theatre, or literature of the absurd. Before starting the class, I would like to show you the book A Glossary of Literary Terms by M.H. Abrams and Geoffrey Galt Harpham. You should buy this book because this is one of the most important books for the students of English literature. Okay, I have shown you two different editions of the same book. You can buy any one of them. Okay, then let's get started with absurd. First of all, you have to know the meaning of the word absurd. That is the dictionary meaning or the literal meaning of the word absurd. So the meaning of absurd is insensible, irrational, illogical, ridiculous, idiotic, meaningless, stupid, inappropriate, pointless, or unreasonable. Okay, so anything that is insensible can be considered as absurd. Anything that is meaningless can be considered as absurd. Anything which does not have any purpose can be considered as absurd. So, many of the absurdists believe that the human life is essentially absurd. That is, the life of human being is meaningless. The absurdists believe the same. Okay, so the absurd literature and the absurd theatre also does the same. The term is applied to a number of works in drama and prose fiction which reflect such absurdism. That is, the human life is essentially absurd, the human life is meaningless, the human life is a quest for the significance and the purpose of it. These things are reflected in some of the works of literature, works of theatre, and such kind of works are known as absurd literature or theatre. Okay, basically we can find these elements in drama and prose fiction, not in poetry. Prose fiction includes the short stories, the novels, but we will discuss these things later on because this is not so important from uh, our discussion point of view. So drama is the most important one. So Alfred Jarry's French play, Ubu Roy, Ubu the King in 1896 was the first play where we can notice the elements of absurdism. That is, the originality of absurd literature or absurd thing can be observed in the works of from France. That is, the the absurdism had the root in France. Okay, but it became a literary movement only after the horrors of World War II. That is, in the World War II, we could notice that everything was dismantled, everything was collapsed. Okay, including the hope of the human beings, the beliefs of the human beings, the social structure, political structure, religious structure, rationality of life, everything were dismantled after the World War II. So obviously the people became hopeless in their life. People became uh, very much negative in their life. Okay, so some of the writers started writing on such kind of things, such kind of hopelessness, such kind of nothingness, such kind of existential dilemma and all these things after the World War II, and the movement of absurdism began. That is in 1940s to 1960s. Okay, the World War actually was spreading the orderlessness of life, purposelessness of life, negativity, hopelessness, and existential dilemma, most importantly. So after 1940s, as I already mentioned, that a widespread of tendency of existential philosophy could be seen. Existential philosophy. The precursors of existential philosophy were Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Okay, they believed that life is incessant and fruitless quest for purpose or significance of life. It is incessant and fruitless quest for purpose. That is, life is purposeless and we are searching for it incessantly, continuously. But it is fruitless, and existence itself is an absurd thing, according to the existential philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Albert Camus' the essay The Myth of Sisyphus is a pioneer essay on the absurdism and existential philosophy. Okay, so one thing you have to remember is uh, the phrase "the theater of the absurd" was coined by Martin Aslin, though uh, it is important from examination point of view. You have to uh, remember it very well. So characteristics of absurd literature, we will see what may be the characteristics of absurd literature. By taking the example of Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, which was the which was one of the pioneer absurd literature, we can see that the dialogues are pointless, the language was pointless, irrational plot construction, a repetition of the same thing, non-consequential plot, experimental way of presentation, incoherent way of presentation, and non-consequential way of the events. So in this play, Waiting for Godot, we can see nothing happens, nobody comes, nobody goes. It's awful. Okay. That is, it is not fixed. So some examples you have to remember related to absurd literature are Albert Camus' Myth of Sisyphus, Eugene Ionesco's Bull Soprano, The Lesson, Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, Endgame, Malondy's The Unnameable, Jean Genet and Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party. Okay, all of these, show the hopelessness, the irrationality, and existential dilemma. Okay, you have to remember all these things. You have to remember first the uh, definition of absurd, who propounded absurd, okay, in which genre the absurdism could be seen, and who are the important absurdists, how it is connected to existentialism. These things are important from your examination point of view, and you have to remember all these things. So, thank you.